Hey guys, I'm Lauren Green,
Hi, I'm Keely Beal.
and so our topic for this week that goes along with the internet is NCSA Mosaic. So you're probably wondering, what is NCSA Mosaic? Pretty much, Mosaic is a web browser, so like Google, Chrome, or Internet Explorer, Safari, like what we use today. But this was a browser that was used in the 90s, in the early 90s. And so NCSA stands for National Center for Supercomputing Applications. This was like a project that was at the University of Illinois, and that is where Mosaic was created. And Mosaic grew in popularity. It was not the first web browser, but it was the first one that kind of sparked like the World Wide Web and the internet becoming popular.
And this is actually the logo for the NCSA Mosaic. It's a pretty popular moving image that just shows their complexity of the web browser itself by showcasing moving images. So what exactly made Mosaic unique? It was the first system, as previously stated, to include color images on a web page. It was also the first system to include both bookmarks and icons, both of which are very much heavily used in internet browsers today. The Mosaic allowed the general public to use the internet or the internet browsers, which allowed for a much larger group of users. It moved away from mostly military use to the public domain. A part of what made it so accessible for the public was the fact that it was free of charge, so it didn't cost anything for people to use it. In November of 1993, over 40,000 copies were downloaded within the first month. So this just shows how popular it became just within the first month of it being released.
Okay, so the development of Mosaic, we have two guys who were the main developers, Mark Andreessen and Eric Bina. So previously, when other browsers were created, you could Google a picture or you could Google text, but you wouldn't have them together. And so they kind of envisioned the idea of like, you want the picture with the text type of thing. And so it was invented in the beginning of 1993, and it was originally designed for Unix, but once it was so popular, they created more software, and so PNC and Mac versions came out. So pretty much we had almost anyone could use this browser, and that's why it became popular. It was user friendly, anyone could download it, and they actually won awards for it in 1993. It won Product of the Year by InfoWorld magazine. In 1994, it won Technology of the Year by Industry Week magazine. And Mark Andreessen, he actually left Illinois, and he started Mosaic Communication Corporation. And that eventually led to Netscape Navigator, which was an application that eventually became the Internet Explorer.
So Mosaic left such a huge impact on both the internet and how the general public used the internet. Mosaic was one of the first to have the use of a killer application. This is also called a killer app. Basically what it is, it's a computer program that is seen as so necessary or desirable that it proves core value or layer of technology. This is the beginning of the web as it is known, or it was like the catalyst for internet growth. Because of such heavy use for the general public, it really was a catalyst for how fast the internet was grown. It was also the graphical interface to search tools or graphic web browser. So it had the use of both pictures, it had all these functions that made it a little bit more accessible for the general public just through the use of visual uh, cues. Businesses also began taking notice of the internet. They basically saw it as a tool to market and capitalize upon advertising, in which they got more involved with it and spent more money in internet advertising. And as previously stated, it did win the Product of the Year by InfoWorld magazine, and it won Technology of the Year by Industry Week magazine. Pictured below are Andreessen, and Mosaic was basically modeled after the mosaic tile, as a representation of all of these like pictures and all of these like colors and themes all coming together to create this map of beautiful internet architecture.
Okay, so taking this topic and relating it to the stuff that we're studying this week, we read this one article called Links, and it talks a lot about how um, when you have the TV, they talk about like channel surfing, and then they kind of transition that into like when the internet came out, there was like net surfing and web surfing, and how it's not really related to TV because TV is just like you're randomly searching a channel. But like what makes the web so different is that everything's connected and that it's like a link by association. And so I think that after reading this article, it kind of makes sense why they invented Mosaic. Um, we associate stuff with pictures and text to go along with it. And so when you combine those together, you could be Googling something and then it just keeps taking you to like even if we think about it now with like paid advertisements, you could be like Googling something for your homework and then like a shoe or something you might be interested in pops up on the side. So we associate stuff on the internet by like a trail that we create on our own that's personal to like our searches and the stuff like our internet history. And so through that, Mosaic was like aesthetically pleasing, and that's also why it became popular. Like it's not it well we'll show a video in a minute that will show you what it looks like. It's not quite as aesthetically pleasing as how stuff is today and is advanced, but aesthetically pleasing is definitely something that we relate with technology with like the Macintosh and iPhones, how they're very user friendly, easy to use, and it's just aesthetically pleasing.
So, in conclusion, basically restating everything that we have said so far is Mosaic was the first web browser to have graphics and hypertext links. It also made the web popular to the general public, so for general public use. Um, and it made commercial use of the internet popular. So just being able to bring in the general public for general public use really expanded the internet and its domain and really was a catalyst for the internet as we know it today. And then lastly, here is our video that we have included. This was basically the world's first website through NCSA Mosaic. So as you can see, it added the use of color text and hypertext links. As Lauren stated earlier, it's still not as aesthetically pleasing as what we might be used to today, but it still allowed a more accessible use for the general public to use the browser. We can see the use of like icons at the top too that are still very much in use today. So through like backspace and forward and rewind, as well as the highlighted words or the hypertext links still very commonly used today.
Yeah, and this might not look that great compared to stuff that we use now, but back then, pretty much only like professors or the government, like higher up people, would use the internet, and so this like really just made it easier for everyone.
And lastly, here are our references that we use for our presentation. Thanks.
Bye.